Hello, Internet. This is Whispering Whim, bringing you yet another grocery haul today. Um, Luckily, I just barely will get this in on time to qualify. I try to do one a month, as my more persistent listeners know. And this month was a challenge. I think most of them are, right? That just seems to be life lately. But this particular month, my guy and I, we only have one car right now between the two of us. I used to have my own car, and it broke to the point where the mechanic's like, it wouldn't be ethical to even try to fix this. So we've had one car. Well, the one car broke down, and it's been in the shop twice this month. Twice. So life has been kind of interesting, but all is well now. The car is operational, and I have some groceries. It's not as giant of a haul just because I'm pretty much at the end of the month now. But we've got some goodies in here, so let's get started with some plain panko breadcrumbs. Now, generally, panko isn't my favorite type of breadcrumb. You know, you've become a persnickety kind of cook when you have a favorite type of breadcrumb. So I don't normally stock it, but I'll be making a dish, a copycat dish off of something from one of my meal kits that the meal kit used panko, and it actually really worked in that situation. So I've got the panko, and what I'll be making is basically a oh gosh, what's the word? I'm blanking so much right now. It's made from basil, pesto. I'll be making a pesto pasta dish with some asparagus and tomatoes, and walnuts instead of pine nuts, just because they're a little more cost effective. But I'm really excited to be making this dish again. You know, with the meal kit, they just kind of give you a very simple version, right? Like with the pesto sauce, they just gave us pesto sauce. But for my attempt to recreate or to improve upon that meal kit, I will be making the pesto from scratch, which it doesn't look too hard to make, so I don't know why I'm congratulating myself already, but I'm excited for it. That's what I'm going to cook tonight. Speaking of, here are the noodles for that. And I'm going to butcher the name. I think it's cavatappi is this little corkscrew kind of noodle. They tend to favor that in the meal kit, but it adds a fun texture because if you know me, if you've watched enough of these, you know I like the bow tie pasta. That's what I use in most of my pasta dishes. So it's good to branch out. I mean, there's a reason why there's like 50 million different shapes of pasta. They all are suited for different purposes, right? It's just easier to keep one or two on hand. Moving along, we've got some good old Granny Smith apples. Those are for my guy's lunches. He never seems to complain if his lunches get too repetitive, although I do make a lot of efforts to make them not super, super repetitive. But when it comes to fruit, apples are just so easy. And I think the second easiest slash cheapest option for me is the little mandarin oranges. And I love those. But if I put two of them in his lunch, because they're like tiny, they're like this big. If I put two in his lunch, he often won't eat the second one. And I'm like, but it's so little food. But yeah, apples seems to be his favorite. Well, okay, that's not true. His favorite is mango. But mango, one, is not cheap. Two, is a pain in the butt to cut. So he only gets that once in a while. All right. We have some dill pickle spheres here, or zesty dill rather. These zesty ones have a little bit of heat to them. Not a ton, but my guy's at the point, he's so spoiled. Like everything needs to have at least a little bit of spice to it. I keep a giant thing of chili flakes now that I just douse his portion with if I haven't added any other type of spice, depending on the appropriateness of the meal. All right. Next up are some potatoes. These are the golden potatoes. It's kind of my preferred potato to work with. And that will be for a cottage pie that I'll be making. I had to retrain myself to say cottage pie because in some parts of the world they get very persnickety. That seems to be a word of the day. About calling the meat and mashed potato dish shepherd's pie, which is what I've always associated it, even if it had beef in it. But for certain people, shepherd's pie has to have sheep, shepherd, yeah. How cottage pie became the beef one, I'm not as certain on, because people who live in cottages could have both sheep and cattle. But yeah, I'll be making a cottage pie later on, but definitely making the basil pasta first, and this will be one of the ingredients in that. Little tomatoes that you cut in half and you blister them in the pan. And I was surprised because my guy is not a big like tomato person. He doesn't mind spaghetti sauce or ketchup. He's one of those. But when the meal kit had blistered tomatoes, as they call it, where you just kind of lightly cook some tomatoes, I thought maybe he would get a little grossed out by them, but he ate them just fine. So I'm kind of excited to have an excuse to put tomatoes in more dishes. Following that, we have, oh yeah. So I like to shop at Winco, and if you don't have a Winco by you, it's a company-owned, not a company-owned, an employee-owned grocery store chain. There we go. I can talk, I promise. And one of their, outside of being the most affordable option in town, one of their big benefits is the bin section, where you can just scoop up whatever you want. And I was strolling through on my way to get the walnuts for the pesto dish when I noticed that they had a section for gummies, and all of the gummies in that one section, there were more gummies in another section that didn't count, but all the gummies in one particular section had the same item number, which means you could make your own mix and match bag. And I don't know what it is about having like a little bit of everything, but I love it. Just love it. So we have like, okay, I'm going to pull one out. We have sour apple in here, which, you know, that's pretty normal. And we've got some, what else did I have? Oh yeah, the little koi fish. But then there's also, and they were honking huge and hard to get out, but we got big old alligators. Look at that. I love it. And I'm going to eat the head off of this alligator right now. But yeah. So I had fun kind of filling up a bag full of random gummy treats. My guy and I apparently both love gummies a lot. And I don't know why. I always hesitated on using them for I still have food in my mouth. Hesitated using them for a lunch dessert, even though, really, why? Is an Oreo healthier? Not really. I mean, maybe the flour is better than pure sugar, but not by a wide margin. So I am embracing our love of gummies and just adding them more. more grocery trips are going to have gummies in them. Following that, we've got, oh yes, some good old contact lens solution. I have not worn glasses on camera for a few years now. I think if you go back far enough, you can see me wearing glasses. And it's not because I think I look bad in glasses. Au contraire. I actually think I look better in glasses, generally speaking. But glasses will have the glare. Like, I have to do weird lighting for videos. Otherwise, I look like a little hobbit. Or not a hobbit. I look like Schmeagol. My precious. So I wear contacts to minimize the glare, and then generally I love having peripheral vision, whereas glasses you get used to only being able to see kind of like hereish, and everything on the side is blurry. So that's why I wear contacts, and that's why I needed some replacement contact solution, right? It seems to follow. And then next up, very crunchy, very squished bag here. We have some, there we go, jalapeno flavored pretzel bites that are made from sourdough bread. And these are very delicious. They're super dense. They're like the crunchiest thing that I think I can handle eating. so dense. But they are delicious and a nice little thing to put in my guys' lunches. And then we have the walnuts, just a tiny bit of walnuts for our pesto dish that's coming out tonight. I'm very excited. And last but not least, for that particular bag, we have some Nature Valley creamy wafer bars. So peanut butter and chocolate with little wafers. I love these. I like to eat them one layer at a time. Like I peel the layers off and just onto the wafer. They're mostly for my guys' lunches, but I may partake of one. And then coming up next, we have, oh yes, okay, so we have refried beans, but we also have refried beans. I've been eating a lot of burritos lately, you may recall. And what really started off the burrito kick was like, gosh, it feels like half a year ago. One of my meal kits had a breakfast for black bean burritos. It was delicious. And I thought that I would start making refried beans from scratch, and that hasn't really panned out. And at Winco, you can get refried black beans with spices. Or if you want one that doesn't have the with spices moniker, it's just refried beans. So this one's made with pinto beans instead of black beans, right? And I would really actually prefer black beans. They're a little more in line with my goals. They're just a little higher in fiber, really, but very similar. But the problem I've had is that the with spices underscored there, I wonder how heavy in cumin it is, because I'm not a big cumin fan. I'm one of those people where cilantro tastes like soap, especially if you just crunch on a whole leaf of it. Cumin is a little more tolerable. Cumin is actually from the same plant. And I think it's more tolerable because it spreads more evenly, so I'm not eating concentrated soap. Anyways, long story short, I have both types of refried beans, and I'm not sure if I'm going to do like a direct taste comparison, because that means having two open cans of beans at the same time, or if I'm just going to try to eat them very close to each other so that I have a good frame of reference. But yeah, the black beans have more fiber per serving. I'd prefer to eat black beans, but we'll see how the with spices turns out. Next up, we have some hot sauce. This is Chula hot sauce. The meal kit service that I've been using. This is the most common hot sauce they send. Although, depending on the dish, I have seen Frank's Red Hot. I don't think I've gotten any Tabasco yet. But I like this one. It's pretty mild, honestly, for this household, anyways. I'm sure there's a lot of people who'd be like, no, that's not mild at all. But it's mild for our standards, but it has a really good flavor to it. And honestly, I can always make things more spicy for my guy. I just keep dehydrated ghost peppers on hand. They are not pre-powdered, ground, I guess would be the better way to phrase that. They're not pre-ground. Because the powder, when you pulverize the fruit like that, it oxidizes faster. So I keep whole ones and then I crush them kind of a little bit at a time to add longevity to the flavor of that. Okay. We have the Finish dishwasher hygienic cleaner. I was a little dubious the first time I used this. It's for the dishwasher, and you peel off the tab up here, but you don't unscrew the cap, and then you set it in an empty dishwasher and just run the dishwasher. But it actually works fairly decently, and I like it. I like the fact that not only does it seem to brighten up the inside of the dishwasher, like everything looked a little whiter, a little cleaner, but in this apartment, I don't think it's our fault. I think there's like a communal line that gets affected, but in this apartment, we've had to have the sink snaked like every other year, pretty much, and we start to feel bad about it, right? But we don't pour grease down the drain, we don't put coffee grounds or anything weird like that. It's just normal cleaning. But I have noticed that the problem seems to not be as bad if I clean out the dishwasher. I don't know if that's just a coincidence or not, but yeah, we haven't had to snake the drain this year, which is good. And then finishing out this particular bag, we have more of that sushi ginger, and this is the one that has no artificial sweetener in it, so I prefer that one. Just can't do the artificial sweeteners. Okay, we have one more dry bag. This will be a smaller trip, but I think it's big enough. Okay. And first up, we have some diced tomatoes. I think this is for the cottage pie. Maybe? Sometimes when I write out the list, I forget what ingredients are for what. But something I'm cooking in the future. Need some diced tomatoes. And then we have some more avocado oil. Another small bottle of the avocado oil. It is more cost effective for me to go to Sam's Club, which is the warehouse style store, and buy the big bottle. But I found that ever since we got down to one car, it just hasn't worked out quite as well to go to two separate stores. On the days that I need the car, I've got to drive my guy to work, and then I've got to be done with whatever I'm doing when he gets off of work, which, that's like an 8-hour window. It doesn't sound that bad, but it really cuts into things because you can't start projects if you know you have to go and get them, and you can't, sleep in or do a project early in the morning. I don't know. We're making the one car thing work, but there are days, man, I wish we had two again. But it's definitely cheaper to have just one car. Moving along, we have 1 can of spaghettio meatballs. This is for me, kind of like a weird dinner treat, I guess you could call it. Girl dinner, I think, is a common meme now. But occasionally, if my guy is off doing something else, I relish in the fact that I don't have to cook. Which is funny because I do enjoy cooking a lot. I'm very excited for my pesto dish, right? But I do it every day. And just like with like a regular job, right? If you do what you love often enough as a labor, let's call it, sometimes it loses some of its pizzazz. So I cook most nights for the two of us. And on the nights I don't have to cook for two of us, I eat things like SpaghettiOs and top ramen and whatever other garbage I have managed to pick up. Really gonna have to add more veggies to my diet, I think, here soon. And last but not least, for our dry goods is 1 little can of chili. This is also for girl dinner night when I can just microwave something and be done for the day. Now we are on to our refrigerator items, the cooler items. And first up there is some mushrooms. My love-hate relationship with mushrooms is ongoing, right? And those ones need to be transferred out of that bag. I see there's quite a bit of condensation in there. One of the cooking shows that I've watched when I was younger recommended that when you buy mushrooms, even if you have to buy them in little plastic like this, to swap it out for a paper bag when you get home. It's a little more of a friendly environment because mushrooms go bad pretty quickly compared to some vegetables. And then we have the basil. This will be the main component for the pesto sauce. And Winco, unfortunately, doesn't have the big bundles of basil. The more expensive grocery stores that are closer to me, they all carry basil in just a loose, it's not a loose bundle, but it's a bundle that's just tied together, not in plastic. And it always weirds me out that this is one of those things that Winco doesn't keep in more of a bulk sort of setting. I think the recipe I looked up technically needs 3 cups, I think, of basil, and this isn't quite that much, but I also don't think I'll need as much sauce as the recipe makes, so I'll just cut it in half, right? And then next up we have, oh yes, string cheese. We definitely go through a lot of string cheese in this household. And I'm starting to be like, because they're all individually wrapped. They're very convenient. But I'm starting to wonder if, that is something I need to cut out for, being more eco-friendly sake or not. I used to be very stringent about how much plastic I used. But it's just so hard to avoid. Right? I mean, everything's in plastic or around plastic these days. So I've made a compromise where I will still do things like wash out my Ziploc bags. I have a billion of them right now. Wash out my Ziploc bags and try, in most cases, to get bigger things of, say, chips. But sometimes I don't. And the string cheese is one of those things that's, I probably could fix that and just give him some Colby Jack that I cubed up or something like that. But he really enjoys tearing it apart. And like if you get fresh mozzarella, they come in like the loaves, you can kind of make it into sticks, but I don't know if it'd really be the same for him or not. Okay. We're gonna move right along here and pull out. Just one at a time here. There we go. Our next item is some asparagus. This is the other vegetable that is in my pasta dish for tonight. So it'll have the blistered tomatoes, asparagus, the pesto sauce, and then the panko breadcrumbs that I got. What you do is you take a little bit of the walnuts that you haven't already added to the pesto sauce, and you chop them finely, and you put them in a pan with melted butter and the panko, and you toast it. So you have this nice, like, crunchy thing to put on top. And then the last ingredient is Parmesan. That should be in here somewhere. Yes. You put Parmesan on top. And it is a vegetarian meal the way that it was originally constructed, I guess, from the meal kit. But I think maybe I'll add some chicken tonight just to make it a little more filling. But it doesn't have to have the chicken. Like the walnuts add protein, so we'll see. We'll see what I do on that one. Okay, here we have some baby carrots. So for my guy's lunch. And then finishing off the cooler bag. Oh, nope, I've got one more item in there. Almost finishing off my cooler bag. We have some bologna. This one is the original flavor, but it's not the original flavor. I know I'm certain I've complained about this before, but when I was a kid and you made fried bologna sandwiches, the bologna had a lot of fat that would kind of like seep out of it, and it would crisp up, a little bit like bacon might. But this stuff doesn't do that anymore. It tastes the same more or less, but it doesn't crisp up. It like dehydrates. If you cook it in the pan, it just sort of, it shrinks, but it's letting off water instead of fat. So it's not the same texturally. And I miss that texture. I really miss that texture. Oh yeah. And then last but not least, for our refrigerator stuff, is some freeze-dried parsley. And I don't know if this needs to stay in the refrigerator section, but the grocery store had it in the refrigerator section. Oh, okay. So this says no refrigeration required. And yet they kept it there. That's an odd choice. But this stuff boasts that it's better than like regular dried parsley. And I use parsley in a lot of dishes, and I find that fresh parsley is preferable, but it goes bad eventually, right? Oh, I just broke the tab. So I'm wondering if this really compares to fresh parsley. And I just destroyed the tab that goes on here. I was going to do a little taste test, but I'm not sure how to open this now. So I guess I'll report back at some point whether this is actually better than, say, this, right? They don't look much different. We'll see. We will see. Or I'll see, anyways. All right, and then I do have one freezer bag to share with you guys today. And the first up within the freezer bag is a cauliflower risotto melody. It does not resemble risotto whatsoever. That's okay. But it is, riced cauliflower with a bit of asparagus and mushroom in it. There's, you can use it in place of pasta. The thing I use it for, and what I got it for this time, is that on the weekends I usually make bacon for my guy, and then with some of the leftover bacon grease, I'll typically fry up a vegetable to pretend I'm being healthier than him because he likes donuts and stuff like that. So I'll give him a donut or an English muffin and I'll fry up the vegetables. And it might still be a little bit healthier, but it's not that much healthier because I'm using the bacon grease. But anyways, that's a good vegetable for bacon grease breakfast. All right. And then didn't necessarily have to be a freezer item, but I put it in the freezer anyways. This is some chicken breast for the future here. And some ground beef. That's for the cottage pie. And then we have some toaster strudel. Dun dun dun. This will be the additional breakfast thing for my guy on the weekends. I don't think I've ever gotten him toaster strudel, but I'm sure he'll enjoy it. I'm sure he's had it before. But I was looking at the things, the donuts and whatnot, and I liked that this was a freezer item because, then I don't have to, portion it out and freeze half of it anyways. The price was right, was the biggest thing. It was only like $3.50 for that whole box. And when I get him like fresh donuts, I'm paying a minimum of $6 for a container of fresh donuts. So let's see how much he likes the toaster strudels. When I was a kid, I loved toaster strudels. When I was a kid, I would put so much effort in putting in that icing, right? Because it comes with a little tiny icing packet. And sometimes I just do the most delicate of drizzles, and sometimes I draw pictures, but it was like a very important part of the experience for me. So I was surprised when I got a little older to find out that some people like cut it open and just go and use like a butter knife to spread it on top. That just, whoo, blew my mind. My poor simple little mind. Okay. Next up, we have some vegetable melodies. This is for some stir-fry action coming up in the future. And this is the San Francisco blend. So it has green beans, broccoli, onions, mushrooms, and red peppers. I haven't been buying as many of these vegetable packs as I used to. If you go far enough back, if I had a freezer bag, it'd be like 4 or 5 packs of these vegetables. They're handy, they're convenient, but over the years, and all of them include broccoli, over the years, it seems like whatever manufacturer who does them has started to include more and more of the stems of the broccoli. Now, broccoli stems can actually be pretty tasty, but you need to peel off the outer layer. It can be pretty woody. So, if you're at home, that's easy. While you're chopping, you do it. If you're expecting to just dump a bag of vegetables into a saucepan or whatnot, you're probably not going to go through and like find the stem pieces and then find a way to chop the frozen vegetable up to get the good part of the stem, right? It's just a little inconvenient. So I've been using, moral of the story, I've been using less and less of those, but you can't deny the convenience of having pre-chopped veggies that just don't go bad. I mean, eventually they'll get frostburn, but beyond that, they don't go bad. So I got a bag. Yeah. And that finishes out our freezer bag. And this video actually looks like it'll be a pretty decent length without doing anything extra, which I always try to aim for over a half an hour, a little under an hour, just to be consistent, you know, because a lot of people who listen to these, they're, you know, doing it as a bedtime routine. So if your videos have lots of different lengths, it just changes things. So I probably don't have to get into this guy, but I will anyways. I used to do lots of tasting videos, and I kind of added a bit of tasting to the end of a video a few months back to help lengthen it. And I've been holding on to this for, well, since October. It's been a little while. And I noticed the other day that it actually has, where did it go? An expiration date on it for November 30th of 2023. And as of recording this video, it is March something 2024. So obviously I am just not getting to these fast enough. And I mean, it's snack stuff, so it's probably not super expired, but I think it's time to just open this guy up and see what's inside it. And I'll try one or two of them. So, ooh, look at that. There are a lot of goodies in here. This would have made a lovely video. It just hasn't been in the cards for me to do extra videos. I know you guys would love them. I'm sorry. But it just hasn't been a thing right now. But there are a lot of goodies in here. We've got some arigatsu candies. This is Ramun chewy candy. So Ramun is like it's a soft drink. And they usually have like a little pearl or a thing that like sinks down into the bottle, although they make them in cans now too. So soda pop flavored candy. And then we have some little cookie biscuits type thing. They call them a wheat cracker. So this might be more of a savory item. But it has little cute animals printed on it. Oh, this box would have made such a good standalone video. Oh, well. Okay. We have some Hello Kitty cookies here. They're chocolate coated pie is what they call them. We have some strawberry ice cream thing. It's interesting. So there's little, and the directions are kind of covered up by the English translation there, but I guess it's a powder and you mix it with water and then it becomes scoopable. I wonder if this is like a pop and cookin' thing. It doesn't look like you need to microwave it, but same idea. Interesting. So it's like a fake ice cream. Fascinating. I love Japanese snacks. They always have such interesting novelty to them. Like the flavors often, well, they have some different flavors too, but I think it's more of like their effort to make food entertaining that I really enjoy. And then we have it looks like a Pocky knockoff, basically. A savory biscuit dipped in chocolate. Ooh, we have a little jelly. I love jellies. Oh my gosh, they're my favorite. I'm gonna eat the jelly. I'm gonna eat the jelly right now. And then we have some, I guess, just plain crackers. It doesn't look like there's any special flavoring to these guys. a little Hello Kitty. Looks like it was a rice cake, but it got very smushed. And we've got some Arigato branded potato chips, potatoes. And looking at the ingredient list, it's just regular potato chips. There's not any weird flavors involved with that. So we're not missing out much there. We've got some roasted seaweed snacks, which I do enjoy. And this one looks like it's just a regular flavor too. Okay. I'm feeling a little less bad about not saving this for a tasting video because a lot of these flavors are very average. There's nothing's popping out to me as like super weird or different. And I've done so many tasting videos. I had the Munch Pack for 1 to 2 years, so I've eaten a lot of Asian snacks throughout the years. And then we have a rolled wafer, so I think this is going to be kind of like praline. That's the impression I'm getting. But there's 2 flavors of it, or at least 2 colors, but it doesn't say what's what. I will guess that this one is either hazelnut and chocolate, and this one is strawberry. Should I confirm right now? I think I will. You know, problem is I started this video before lunch. So even though I told myself I wasn't going to eat too much junk today, I have obviously been tempted by not only the Japanese snacks, but also the gummy alligator earlier. Oh, okay, so I was wrong. This isn't hazelnut flavor or chocolate flavor. It is most definitely coffee flavor. The smell is obvious and smells like good premium coffee. So let's see. Oh yeah, that's pretty satisfying. I don't think it's so fabulous that I would go and like Google it and import a whole box of them, right? But if someone had a whole box of them and they brought it to, say, a Christmas party, I would probably have more than one of those. And then I really shouldn't open this other one up, but I'm going to, just to see if it was strawberry or if I was wrong again. No, that's definitely strawberry. Let's see how this one compares, though. The strawberry in that one is very mild. It's more of a strawberries and cream kind of a flavor profile. But I think I like that one better than the coffee. It just registers as a lot more light and airy, which when I eat that style of cookie, that's what I like, light and airy. We have more of the jellies. I've already eaten one, so I will spare you guys watching me like devour all of them. And then here we have one of the ramune. There we go, ramune. And this one is blackberry flavor, which is pretty unique. I don't think I'm going to open this up right now, mostly because it's room temperature. And the bottle does actually very specifically say chill before drinking. So there's that. I'm not much of a room temperature beverage person anyways, so don't have to tell me twice. And then we have some pretz. These are like little tiny breadsticks. I am used to seeing them in their own box. Like this foil wrapper normally goes inside a box, or at least that's how they used to sell them back when I did the Munch Packs. No indication at all what flavor this is. And in fact, the makers of this box could get in trouble because it does not have an import sticker or anything. It doesn't even say labeled for individual consumption. Whereas imported snacks, if they don't have English on them, are required to have this little sticker like this. So they have their own nutrition information in whatever language, right? But imported stuff is supposed to have an English label as well. And this has no label at all. None. Okay. And then finishing off that box is a chocolate cream sandwich cookies. So nothing too unusual about that. You know, it's probably a chocolate flavored Oreo kind of a situation there. And yes, that is my box. I'm not going to try anything else, partly because I should eat real lunch. And partly because, like I said, none of these actually had any weird flavors. I think the blackberry soda is like maybe the weirdest one here. Everything else is pretty normal sounding. But anyways, and with that, we're at the end of the video, which for me means shout out time, because who doesn't like to hear your name? And I appreciate all my lovely commenters, even if, shame on me, smack myself here. I haven't replied to some of these comments yet. I don't open the app up in creator mode very often, and for whatever reason, I've poked around my settings. I can't figure out why. It used to be YouTube would email me every time I got a comment, so it's really easy to keep up on them, or easier. But it stopped doing that, but it still emails me when someone comments on a comment in their comment. It's weird. But do not take my lack of activity as a sign that I don't enjoy hearing from you guys, because even if I only open this up once a month, I still open it up. And I appreciate everybody who takes time to comment, such as Lacey, Silicrostics, Chubberino Whispers, Traby Maybe, Veronica Storm, Max, Dulce Crystal, Hot Sauce, PV, and Allison Hamblin. So thanks everybody for commenting, and I'll see you next month. Hopefully a little sooner, but I make no promises. Anyways, nighty night.